Welcome to Life Simulator. Here, you can experience different lives and discover how a single decision can shape your destiny. Today, your chosen path is professional footballer.
Chapter 1. The Dream. The year was 2005. You were 8 years old. An ordinary kid growing up in an ordinary neighborhood. There was nothing special about your life. No famous family, no professional coaches, no expensive football boots. No one looked at you and thought, one day, this boy will become a football star. You spent your afternoons doing what most children did, playing outside, running around with friends, trying to stay out until the street lights turned on. Then, one afternoon, everything changed. A worn-out football rolled across the field and stopped right in front of you. It wasn't new. It wasn't valuable. To everyone else, it was just a ball. But to you, it felt different. You kicked it once, then again, then again. Something about it made you smile. For the first time, you felt completely free. The next day, you came back. Then the day after. Then every day after that. Soon, football became more than a game. It became the best part of your day. While other kids dreamed of becoming superheroes or astronauts, you dreamed of football. Every night before sleeping, you imagined packed stadiums, crowds chanting your name, scoring goals, winning trophies, lifting championships. You were only 8 years old. But without realizing it, you had just discovered your dream.
Chapter 2. The Sacrifice. Dreams are free. Chasing them is expensive. At 13, football stopped being just fun. Now it required sacrifice. While your friends slept in on weekends, you woke up before sunrise. While they played video games, you practiced passing. While they relaxed during holidays, you trained. Rain or shine, hot or cold, tired or motivated, you showed up. Again, and again, and again. There were days when you questioned yourself, days when your legs hurt, days when you wanted to stay home, days when everyone else seemed happier. But every time you stepped onto the field, those feelings disappeared. Because deep down, you knew something. Every professional footballer was once a kid with a dream. The difference was who kept going when things became difficult. And you refused to stop.
Chapter 3. The Academy. At 16, opportunity finally arrived. A professional academy noticed your performances. For the first time in your life, football felt real. You packed your bags, left home, and entered a world unlike anything you had ever seen. The academy was brutal. Everyone was talented. Everyone was fast. Everyone was strong. Everyone wanted the same dream. For the first time, effort alone wasn't enough. Some players were naturally gifted. Some seemed unstoppable. And suddenly, you weren't the best anymore. There were moments when self-doubt crept in, training sessions where nothing worked, matches where you disappeared completely, coaches who criticized every mistake, teammates who seemed miles ahead. One night after a terrible performance, you sat alone in your dorm room, staring at your football boots, wondering if you truly belonged. For the first time, fear entered your mind. What if you weren't good enough?
Chapter 4. The Rejection. At 18, your biggest opportunity arrived. A professional trial. Everything you had worked for led to this moment. For 90 minutes, you ran harder than ever, tackled harder, fought harder, believed harder. When the final whistle blew, you felt exhausted, but hopeful. Then the coach called your name. You walked over, heart pounding, waiting to hear your future. Instead, he said, "You're not ready." That was it. No contract, no celebration, no dream come true. Just rejection. The ride home felt longer than any journey before. You stared out the window, wondering what happened. Had all those years meant nothing? Was the dream over? For weeks, you barely touched a football. You watched your friends move forward with their lives. University, jobs, relationships. Meanwhile, you felt stuck. Lost between reality and a dream that seemed impossible. For the first time in your life, you seriously considered giving up.
Chapter 5. The Breakthrough. But dreams have a strange way of refusing to die. At 20 years old, another opportunity appeared. Not a famous club, not a top league, just a small professional team willing to give you a chance. The salary was low, the facilities were poor, the crowds were small. But you didn't care, because it was still football. And football was all you had ever wanted. You trained harder than ever. Yet week after week, you sat on the bench, watching others play, waiting, hoping. Months passed. Then one day, the coach pointed at you. You're in. Your professional debut had arrived. The stadium wasn't huge. The crowd wasn't massive. But to you, it felt like the World Cup final. Every touch mattered. Every pass mattered. Every second mattered. Then it happened. The ball fell perfectly in front of you. You struck it. The net exploded. Goal. For a moment, everything went silent. Then the crowd erupted. Years of sacrifice. Years of doubt. Years of rejection. All leading to this moment. You had finally become a professional footballer.
Chapter 6. The Injury. Football was no longer just a dream. It was your reality. By 24, you were playing the best football of your life. Goals, assists, recognition, national team call-ups. Everything was finally going your way. Then came one tackle, one moment, 1 second. A defender lunged. Your knee twisted. Pain exploded through your body. You fell. The stadium fell silent. Deep down, you already knew. Something was wrong. The scan confirmed your fears. A serious knee injury. Season over. Maybe longer. The doctor looked at you and said, "You may never be the same again." Those words haunted you. The recovery was brutal. No matches, no goals, no cheering fans. Just hospitals, physiotherapy, pain, and uncertainty. You watched teammates continue their careers, while yours stood still. Some people forgot your name. Others assumed your story was finished. There were nights when you stared at the ceiling, wondering if they were right. Maybe this was the end. Maybe your dream had gone as far as it could. But every morning, you chose to continue. One step, one exercise, one day at a time. Because quitting would hurt more than failure ever could.
Chapter 7. The Return. A year later, you finally returned. Not as the same player, but as a stronger person. The first match back felt surreal. You started on the bench, listening to the crowd, waiting, wondering if you still belonged. Then, your moment came. Late in the game, the coach called your name. You stepped onto the pitch. One chance, one attack, one shot. Goal. The stadium exploded. Fans celebrated. Teammates rushed toward you. But nobody understood what that goal really meant. It wasn't just a goal. It was proof. Proof that you had survived. Proof that you had refused to quit. Proof that your story wasn't over.
Chapter 8. The World Stage. At 28, another dream became reality. The World Cup. Millions watching. Entire nations holding their breath. You stood in the tunnel wearing your country's colors. As the national anthem played, memories flooded your mind. The old football, the empty fields, the early mornings, the rejection, the injury, the comeback. Every moment had led here. For 90 minutes, you weren't just representing yourself. You were representing everyone who ever dared to dream. The boy who once kicked a worn-out football in a small neighborhood had reached the biggest stage in football. And for the first time, you truly understood how far you had come.
Chapter 9. Legacy. Time waits for nobody. At 35, your body was slower. Recovery took longer. The game felt different. But experience became your greatest weapon. You became captain, a leader, a mentor. Young players now looked at you the same way you once looked at your heroes. You taught them lessons no coach could teach. How to handle failure, how to handle pressure, how to keep going when nobody believes in you. The trophies were nice. The records were impressive. But your greatest achievement wasn't what you won. It was who you inspired.
Chapter 10. Game Over. At 80 years old, you sat quietly in the stadium, watching children chase a football across the grass. The sun slowly disappeared below the horizon, and your life replayed before your eyes. The old neighborhood, the first kick, the sacrifices, the academy, the rejection, the first professional goal, the injury, the comeback, the World Cup, the trophies, the memories. For years, you thought football was about winning, about fame, about success. But now you understood the truth. Football was never about the trophies. It was never about the crowds. It was never about the headlines. It was about the feeling. The feeling you had as an 8-year-old boy when a football rolled to your feet for the very first time. And somehow, that feeling never left. Final results. Profession, professional footballer. Career length, 18 years. Goals scored, 387. Major injuries, 2. Trophies won, 14. World Cup appearances, 2. Fans inspired, millions. Life satisfaction, 96%. Final rating, S rank life. Game over. What life will you choose next?